The story opens on a battlefield showing two nations going at each other. Magic is being used, and at the center of this stands our guy, Taichi. He narrates how he and his best friend Rin were regular students some months back before finding themselves in this world. He considers the power they have now a cheat because, boy, these two are overpowered. To explain how the two ended up where they are, a flashback scene comes up to show us. Taichi and Rin are walking back home from school when Taichi hears someone call his name, but he is confused. Meanwhile, a priestess is trying to conduct a summoning ritual when she is attacked by a bad person. The magic circle goes dark, but the priestess's guard is able to put together his last strength to terminate the intruder. Even though the circle is tainted, it glows once again. Rin and Taichi suddenly see a magic circle underneath them. Taichi moves and the circle follows him, letting him know that the circle is targeting him. He pushes Rin away just in case something bad happens, but Rin comes rushing back into the circle. Together, the two find themselves in a whole new place. The two stand up to find their way around because there is no signal on their cell phones. Taichi can easily figure out that they are no longer in their world. However, he thinks they are in an RPG world. It is getting dark already and the two have not come across any civilization. Out of nowhere, an obsidian horse appears right in front of them. Without telling them, these two know that the horse is pretty dangerous. It comes charging toward them, but they are able to dodge his initial attack. Taichi tells Rin to run away while he tries to distract the horse. Rin doesn't want this, but Taichi is used to putting himself in danger. He charges toward the horse, taunting him, and telling the horse to terminate him if it dares. He even throws a stone at the horse, but as predicted, this does nothing to the horse. The horse is about to grant Taichi's death wish when a group of adventurers shows up to take down the horse. With the sort of weapon the guys are holding and their interactions, it finally dawns on Taichi that they are in a whole new different world. He promises himself that he and Rin are going to survive this world and go back to theirs if possible. That night, the adventurers make camp for them to sit and relax. The adventurers talk about the differences in clothes, but Taichi and Rin have nothing to say. The adventurers realize that the two don't want to say anything, and they respect this. The adventurers mention a town, Aspire, and Taichi asks them if they can take them there. The adventurers let Taichi know that this is the least they can do. That night, Taichi goes to Rin to apologize for putting himself in danger. Rin accepts his apology while also telling him not to do it again. She doesn't want Taichi to harm himself just because he is a boy. Taichi promises her that no matter what happens, he will never leave her side again. This is enough assurance for Rin, and the two are able to make up. The following morning, the adventurers take the two to town. Rin and Taichi know that they need to earn money if they are going to stay alive. The two thank the adventurers for their help and promise to work on their strength. The adventurers give them some coins to survive and let them know where they will be in case they ever need help. The adventurers leave and the two head to the guild to sign up. They meet the attendant who classifies them as humans, and this is when it dawns on the two that there are actually different races in this world, ranging from dwarves and the like. The receptionist hands them the contact book. The two figure out that the writings are not actually Japanese, but for some reasons they have been able to read them. In fact, they have been conversing with the people of this world without them realizing it. To proceed further, they need to take the magic aptitude test, because they cannot become adventurers without having an affinity for magic. She brings out a crystal ball for them to touch. Rin is the first to touch the crystal, and initially, nothing happens. Just when she is about to take her hand off, the crystal displays 4 different colors: green, red, blue, and yellow. This immediately gets the receptionist frantic, and she tells Taichi to try out the test too. Taichi does this, and the ball cracks. The receptionist immediately runs away to call someone who is apparently important. Seconds later, a dwarf, who is the guildmaster, Gerard, shows up with another lady, Mayura. He tells them not to panic, but Mayura is going to take them someplace else now. The two want to know where they are headed, but Gerard tells them that it is important if they are going to become adventurers. Soon afterward, they arrive at a house located in the woods where they meet the house owner, Lamia. She welcomes them into her house and brings out 2 measuring devices that are much stronger than the ones they have in the guild. This device measures the strength and capacity of their magic, and all they need to do is hold it. Once they have held it, Lamia uses her power to activate the device. The device starts to glow, and when Mayura comes to check it, she realizes that the numbers are absurdly high. Taichi and Rin are happy that they are going to become adventurers, but Lamia says they need to become her apprentices before they can have a chance to become adventurers. Meanwhile, the evil man who tried to sabotage the summoning ceremony has told his minions to make sure that they find Rin and Taichi. Back in the house, Lamia tells Taichi that his magic capacity is 120,000, while his magic strength is 40,000. Rin has a capacity of 37,000 and a magic strength of 5,000. Mayura lets them know just how strong they are by telling them the capacity of a regular human. Normal humans have a magic capacity of over 10,000, while the strength is over 2,000. Lamaya, who is considered the top mage in the Elistane Magic Kingdom, only has a magic capacity of 43,000 and a magic strength of 6,000. Lamia tells the two that they possess outstanding powers, and this is the reason they need to learn how to use them. If they are able to train very well, the two have the potential of becoming S-rank adventurers or even top royal mages. Lamia even points out that Taichi has the capacity to take down an entire nation by himself. F it, he can even become a king if he wants, and get all the women in the kingdom. This statement only puts him in trouble because Rin cannot watch while he has other girls in his disposal. The next morning, Mayura and Lamia start explaining to the two how magic works in their world. There are 4 magic elements, and these are fire, water, wind, and earth. They let them know that mages can only use 1 magic attribute, but it is rare to see a person who can use 2. Mayura can use 2, which makes her rare, but Rin is considered the rarest of all because she can practically use all 4 attributes with ease. Even Lamia can only use 3. On the other hand, Taichi is not a mage, but has been classified as a sorcerer. Magic is cast with the help of spirits, and this is what mages use, but looking at it, it seems Taichi can use the spirits themselves and not their powers. To do this, Taichi will need to form a pact with the spirits, and doing this will ultimately put him above every other mage in the world. This is the reason Lamia says Taichi has the power to destroy or make nations. After this lesson, they get down to training. Lamia is in charge of training Taichi, while Miura will be in charge of training Rin. While Taichi is struggling to use his power, Rin is progressing well. She is able to combine her knowledge of science with whatever she wants to do. Later that day, Rin finds Taichi where he is busy struggling to make things work. She manages to encourage him, letting him know that he can do it. He closes his eyes and tries imagining what he wants, and while doing this, he hears a girl's voice again. Nonetheless, he is able to manifest his power for the first time, even though it is little. After the day's training, they sit down to eat and drink. Lamia advises Taichi, letting him know that he needs to enhance his body if he is going to function properly. When the two have gone to sleep, Lamia tells Miura that they need to train Taichi and Rin in 3 weeks because she suspects some bad people will come after them. Meanwhile, the priestess is praying for their success. 3 weeks later, the two are now able to wield their powers to some extent. Rin now has a staff to help use her magic, and doesn't even need to chant before using her magic. Their teachers are proud of them, and Miura talks about Rin's adaptability. Rin and Taichi soon run into an obsidian horse, just like when they got to this world. Things are different now, and they easily take down this beast. That night, Lamia congratulates them, letting them know that they are now officially graduates. The two will be heading to Aspire the next day so that they can register as adventurers. This was originally their goal, and they are happy to finally be achieving that. Lamia then tells the two that they need to be careful, because from what she can see, the two are lost ones. She has once read about them, and they are people who came from another world by summoning. Taichi and Rin are surprised to know that Lamia is actually aware of the fact that they are not from this world. Miura tells them that Lamia decided to train them at her place because of this. She tells them that they need to find the sorcerer who summoned them. Those who can use summoning magic are usually powerful because they can manipulate space and time. Taichi considers this to be good because if they are rare, it should be easy for them to find this one sorcerer. They can clear everything up and ask the sorcerer to send them back home. Later on, when Taichi and Rin are together, Taichi thanks Rin for coming with him into this world because he would not have survived on his own. Before Taichi sleeps that night, the female voice calls out to him again, letting him know that they are going to meet very soon. Up next, Taichi wakes up from a dream where the female voice is talking to him. This keeps him wondering who might actually be trying to reach him. He then narrates how he and Rin have been surviving for the past 2 weeks. They have registered at the Adventurers Guild and have been working E-rank jobs since then. This is just another day in the life of Taichi and Rin. Rin sits down to read about the history of the kingdom. She learns that 80% of the population in the Elistane Kingdom can practice magic. This is one of the reasons they are easily considered the top 3 kingdoms in the continent. Taichi and Rin are in the middle of their personal history lesson when one of the attendants comes over to deliver a message to them. The guildmaster has personally summoned the two. It turns out that he has a task for them, and this involves them investigating a bar in the slums. It is rumored that smuggled goods are entering the town through the slums, and a particular bar is in question. The quest is D-ranked, and this gives Taichi and Rin the opportunity to be promoted if they are able to complete the task. 2 other parties have tried this task but have failed in it. The guildmaster decides to turn to Taichi and Rin since their teacher, Lamia, vouched for them. The two accept the task and get on it. While walking through the market, Rin sees a particular fruit called Malila that she likes. She wants to buy it, but is shocked when she hears how expensive it has become. The trader lets them know that there have been shortages of food for the past week, and it is rumored that wagons are being attacked by monsters. This shortage has applied to everything, and this is the reason foods are expensive, he says. The two end up buying the fruit, and after leaving there, they start talking about their quest and the connection to the shortage. Taichi is confident in their abilities and wants to investigate the case further, with the assurance that he is not going to lose. Later that night, the two head into the said bar to do their own investigation. They approach the bartender in a friendly manner and ask him if he can help them get goods that aren't circulating in the market. They come to him with the proposal of a business, and basically what they are requesting is to get goods that can be sold on the black market for more profit. To further convince the bartender, the two bring out a huge sum as a bribe, but this only causes more problems for them. They are soon surrounded by men who want to end their life. These guys are no match for the two, as they easily take down the bad guys. The guys start to beg, telling Taichi and Rin that they were put up to the task by an unknown fellow who just paid them. The bartender manages to put a stop to the ruckus by telling Taichi and Rin that they have sold out all the goods that they have. He also tells Taichi and Rin that he is not interested in their money, urging them to leave. Taichi and Rin step out of the bar and start walking away, but notice that some people are following them. They try running away, but are soon intercepted by women dressed like ninjas. A fight breaks out between them, and Taichi realizes that capturing one of them will be good for investigation. He manages to hold back his punch, and he takes down one of the women. The leader stands in the distance watching everything unfold. Realizing that they are no match for the two, the ninjas drop a smoke bomb and use the cover of the smoke to disappear, leaving one of their own. Taichi doesn't really care about the ninjas escaping since they are able to catch one of them. Later on, the captured ninja wakes up in a cell. Gerard stands outside the door, letting her know that she is in a safe place. He assures her that Taichi doesn't have any intention to hurt her, but she has been presented with an option to cooperate with them or go back to her people, who will most likely terminate her once they see her. In the next scene, Miura comes to visit the guys and also congratulate them on their promotion to D rank. However, the prices of goods are still up there. In fact, it has become worse since the past week. Miura lets them know that the main reason she has come to see them is to form a party with them if they are interested. She wants to find a solution to the shortage of food. She has heard the rumor that a powerful magician is supporting those behind this evil deed, and this is the reason the farmers cannot fight back. She has never thought of forming a party, but here she is getting into one with Taichi and Rin. Soon afterward, they meet up with a group of farmers. Among the farmers are McGill and Leth. The person who filed the quest with the guild, Kasim, is also with the farmers. Taichi feels something weird when he shakes his hand, but doesn't know what it is just yet. The adventurers are to go on patrol together with the farmers to see if they are going to catch those stealing their crops. They get to the middle of the plantation, and Rin's staff warns her that something is coming. Just then, orcs and a big ogre come out of the woods. Taichi dishes out instructions to the team when engaging the monsters. In no time, Taichi and his party members take out the ogre and the orcs. That night, Taichi, Rin, and Miura talk about their suspicions. Orcs and ogres are not native to that part of the land, which basically means the ones they come across were set up by someone. Miura wants them to do a thorough investigation and show whoever is behind this why they need to stop underestimating them. Elsewhere, a mage is seen taking out monsters and absorbing their life force in preparation for something obviously evil. While in her cell, the assassin realizes that Taichi could have killed her, but chose not to. This is enough to push her decision, and when Gerard enters the room to ask her if she has made a decision, she says yes. Meanwhile, the farmers and Taichi's party are still investigating the plantation. They soon come across a bunch of thieves, harvesting the fruits. They have no bodyguards or mage to protect them, and this makes it easy for Taichi and his party to apprehend them. Taichi ties them up but has no intention of hurting them, and he tells the farmers to take them to the authorities. Kasim comes forward to shake Taichi, and this is when the guy puts something into observation yet again. He notices that Kasim's palms are soft, unlike the other farmers. He also knows about the orcs, and this begs the question of who he really is. Kasim realizes that he has been found out and decides to come clean. He tells them that he has been behind everything happening so far. Just when he is still boasting, Kasim's comrade appears from out of nowhere. Apparently, she has been around but has been using camouflage to hide herself. Kasim tells his comrade to handle the girls while he takes care of Taichi. He leaves the scene and the mage gets attacked, but she is able to dodge the attack pretty easily. It is a battle between women, and the evil mage seems to be holding out pretty well. However, things soon turn sour for her when Miura and Rin are able to work together to subdue her magic spells. On the other hand, Taichi and Kasim are preparing to go against each other. Kasim summons an elemental beast, but Taichi assumes he can take this down with one punch. He goes after the beast, but he fails to register a hit, and this is because it has no physical body. Kasim makes fun of Taichi, letting him know that there is no way for him to defeat the elemental beast. To make things worse, Taichi can be attacked by the beast, but he cannot even fight back. Continuing with the ladies' battle, Mayura is going hard against the enemy, while Rin is supporting from behind. Mayura cannot hold her own against the lady, and Rin starts thinking of what to do. Rin uses a long-range attack to try and hit the enemy, but she easily dodges it and almost hits Miura. The enemy mage knocks Miura back and comes after Rin. Taichi gets into more trouble with Kasim because of his inability to attack the elemental beast. Kasim has studied Taichi and come to the conclusion that he cannot use magic attacks, which means he only relies on physical attacks. To make things worse for Taichi, Kasim feeds the beast a red substance that transforms him into what Kasim categorizes as the red elemental beast. Taichi gets hit, and he starts spilling red liquid from his mouth. Kasim lets him know that he is going after the girls once he is done with him. Taichi wants to know his plans with the girls, and Kasim tells him that he is going to use the girls for pleasure business once he is able to get his hands on them. Seeing that their opponent is very strong, Rin and Miura decide to up their game too. They let the mage know that they have just been testing her, and it is time for them to get serious. They go after her, and she believes that they are going to use the same tactic as before, but she is shocked when she is hit with new counterattacks that she doesn't know existed. She is impaled with a lightning spear, and when she asks for more, Rin hits her with a tornado blast, mixed with some explosive capabilities. They hit the mage so badly that she falls to the ground and admits defeat. The mage, Grammy, lets them know that she is only admitting defeat for that day, but would like a rematch again in the future. Just then, Kasim shows up at the scene with Taichi beaten and battered. He demands that they surrender if they don't want Taichi to die. The girls have no choice but to do this, even though Taichi is struggling so hard to prevent that. He is so hurt that he cannot stand up to protect his friend. He starts thinking about what he was told concerning his power being a cheat. Just then, he falls into the unconscious realm, where the same familiar voice asks him if he wants power. Taichi wastes no time in saying yes, because he really wants to save Rin and Mayura. The female voice then introduces herself as Ariel and lets Taichi know that she is the wind spirit. Since Taichi has accepted to use her power, she has no choice but to lend it to him. However, Ariel already warned him that this is the first time, and it is going to be painful like death. Taichi returns to the conscious realm with his body glowing, leaving his friends and enemies in total amazement. Kasim tells the beast to attack Taichi, but after one hit, Taichi gets serious and wipes out the beast alongside its attack. Kasim realizes that he is in a problem and decides that it is time to run away. Taichi doesn't want him to because he threatened to defile Rin and Miura. Taichi's body hurts so badly, but it doesn't stop him from unleashing an attack that hits Kasim. Kasim and Grammy manage to escape, but Kasim lets Grammy know that he has achieved his goal. He admits that Taichi's power is out of this world, and they cannot stand up to him. Meanwhile, Taichi has passed out after exhausting himself, and the girls are watching over him. Soon afterward, Taichi wakes up to find himself in Lamia's place, and he starts to wonder how he got there. Lamia enters the room, and Taichi is still about to start asking questions when he realizes that he is hungry. He goes to the dining table and finishes a meal that is meant for 5 people. Lamia then informs him that he has been asleep for a whole week now. Rin and Mayura brought him to Lamia after the 3rd day because they were already scared. They thought he was suffering from exhaustion, but in reality, he had exhausted all his magic power and strength. This was regenerating, and this is the reason he was in a state of comatose. Lamia then asks him to narrate what happened in the northern forest. Taichi tells her about the orb that Kasim gave the beast, and Lamia reveals that this is known as the Crimson Pact, which is naturally a forbidden law. It is a ritual between humans and beasts, but it is not encouraged because of the cruelty. Taichi then tells Lamia about Ariel, and this immediately sends something up her brain. With this, Lamia is finally able to figure out exactly what Taichi is. On the other hand, Kasim and Grammy are seen reporting to their boss. He is impressed with what he has been told, but lets Kasim know that he has another task for him. It seems Grammy is a pawn to them, and the leader makes some modifications to her slave spell to make her more obedient. Preparing for the carnival, the leader leaves a note among the bunch of notes that are on his table before leaving his manor. Now at Lamia's place, Lamia informs Taichi that he is a summoner. He is closely related to a shaman, but the difference between them is that the spirit uses its own power without having to take from the host. This makes the spell and attack even more dangerous. Just then, the maid, Almeida, enters the room to check on Taichi. He tells Taichi that she has no idea when Rin and Miura will be back because they have left the house since morning. Taichi decides to stand up and look for the two. He heads into town, and just while he is walking in the street, he sees some guys harassing a girl and decides to intervene. Just when he does this, the girl jumps away from the guys to hold Taichi's arm. The guys get angry and want to hurt Taichi for stealing their woman, but a kick from Taichi sends the crook flying. His comrade picks him off the floor, and together, the two run away. Taichi then points out the fact that the girl actually doesn't need his help because he could see the way she handled herself. The girl is impressed by this and points out that they have met before. Taichi wonders where he met the girl, and she explains to him that she is the female assassin that he captured. Her name is Anastasia, and she has joined up with the guild now. She is making an investigation of her own, and everything is pointing her toward the manor. Together, the two head to the manor and take out the few guards who are present at the manor. Taichi and Anastasia enter the room, and Taichi finds something that looks quite important on one of the notes. Meanwhile, Miura and Rin are walking through the street, enjoying the festival. Out of nowhere, the two are attacked by some assassins. Rin tells the people to run away so that they can effectively engage the enemies. Once the area is clear, it turns into a full-blown battle between the two groups. The two look up to find out that there are additional assassins on the roof. As if this is not worse enough, Grammy emerges out of nowhere, thanks to her invincibility perk. She knocks Mayura out and kidnaps her while the rest of the gang tries to delay Rin. Grammy tells the guys to keep her busy while she escapes with Mayura. Meanwhile, Taichi and Anastasia are on their way to a cave that is supposedly filled with crimson-packed goblins. Getting to the entrance of the cave, Anastasia uses her ninja skills to unlock the door. The two get to have a heart-to-heart discussion, and this is when the lady tells him to call her Anna, because her full name is a mouthful. Later on, Rin is able to get rid of the assassins, and while looking for Miura, she runs into Grammy, who tells her where Miura is being held. Rin wonders why the girl is helping her, and she lets her know that Miura and Rin belong to her, which will not allow her to look away when they are about to be terminated by someone else. She tells Rin to hurry on because Miura is about to be turned into a monster with the help of the Crimson Pact. Rin rushes away and gets to the building to find Miura tied up and surrounded by the bad guys. She is utterly annoyed, and this is evident by the gust of wind blowing around her. She takes out the leader of the gang and uses her ice power to disable the others. She walks toward Mayura and frees her by breaking through her binds. Just then, the leader of the bad guys shows up with Kasim. He is impressed with how Rin was able to save her friend without killing one person. Rin is ready to take on the guy, but the guy lets her know that she has a bigger problem on her plate. There are 3,000 monsters heading toward the town, and they are more than enough to level the town. It falls down to the two to protect the town, or let it go to ruins. To make things worse, he has arranged a distraction for Taichi, which means help will not be coming from Miura and Rin. Kasim talks to his boss about the plan they have for Taichi and his friends. The man believes that the monster provision he has made is enough to judge their capabilities, and there is no need to add more. He believes the plan to be rock solid without any problems. Meanwhile, Taichi and Anna have run into a golem while going through the cave. Taichi promises Anna that he is going to protect her. He goes after the golem and unleashes a powerful attack that shatters the monster. He is surprised that there is no core left behind by the monster. Just then, a door opens right in front of them to showcase a red room that is apparently filled with monsters. There are two girls there, and they address themselves as Mello and Milo. On the other hand, Mayura and Rin have informed Gerard about the impending danger and the need to up the town's security. The town has the guild and the adventurers should be available to protect the city, Rin assumes. They are in the middle of this deliberation when Lamia shows up, and this immediately lifts their spirits. She tells them that she felt some strange magical powers, and this is the reason she came to check it out. Back in the cave, Mello and Milo let Taichi know that they are responsible for the hibernating goblins. They are earth magicians after all, and when Taichi mentions the fact that the goblins might lose control, the two sisters assure the guy that they have a crystal to control the beasts. To show this, the girls order the goblins to rise from their shells, and this they do. These are goblins that are affected by the Crimson Pact, and they have turned into red goblins as a result of this. Taichi tells Anna to sit back while he engages the goblins. He starts taking them down but realizes that enhancing himself too much will ultimately result in the collapse of the room. He needs to hold back a bit, but just when he says this, the two sisters lose control of the crystal. The goblins waste no time in coming after the two, and Taichi reminds them about what he said concerning them losing control. Nonetheless, Taichi is open to protecting them. He manages to grab the two and take them to where Anna is. He now needs to take down his enemies while also protecting the girls. He leaves Anna in charge of the girls and heads toward the monsters. In town, Gerard and the adventurers are busy making plans on what to do. During this, Rin tells them that she has a plan for the enemy's front line and would love it if she is allowed to try it out. They decide to leave her to try whatever is on her mind. She plans to combine earth, fire, and water to create a big explosion. She explains to them the reason she is choosing these three elements. She is basically creating a volcano to take out the enemy's front line. Soon afterward, Rin stands on the city wall, and when the enemies get into a favorable position, Rin lets go of her power and sinks the entirety of the enemy's front line. She boils them in steam and then roasts them up. This takes out a great deal of magic power from her, and she startles back a little. She assures her friends that she might be weak, but she sure can still fight. Once the front line is gone, Gerard orders the waiting adventurers to go out and engage the enemies. A full-blown battle breaks out between the humans and the monsters. Lamia is a big addition to the team as she takes no pity on the monsters while unleashing her mighty power. Meanwhile, Kasim and his boss are watching the fight from afar, and they are impressed with the fact that the guys are able to push back the monsters. Kasim's boss is exceptionally glad that Lamia is present on the battlefield. Rin and Mayura are also engaging actively on the battlefield. Gerard is in the tent when a scout shows up to inform him that more monsters are coming. At the same time, Taichi arrives in the tent, and he has Anna and the sisters with him. On the battlefield, giant monsters have arrived, and this might be a problem for the three because they are kind of exhausted. Nonetheless, Lamia is happy with the new challenge, and she sees it as something that she needs to overcome. She knows the beasts are there to gauge their strength, and she is not one to shy away from showing what she has in her tank. She hits them with a basic attack when this doesn't work. She tells Rin and Mayura to give her 30 seconds while she comes up with something big. Lamia starts chanting a spell that is very big and gives off a bright light. Those in the tents feel the impact of Lamia's spell hitting the enemy. Taichi is ready to go to the battlefield, and he tells Anna to look after the sisters. Now on the battlefield, 2 of the giant monsters die, but the strongest one among them survives. Rin tries taking down the beast, but this doesn't work. She is exhausted already and just falls to her knees while the monster walks toward her. She starts thinking about the things that she would have loved to tell Taichi, but didn't get the chance to. However, she is rest assured that Taichi will show up at some point to save the town. Rin is about to become minced meat when Taichi shows up to block the beast's attack and lets Rin know that he basically heard everything she was saying. Taichi holds the monster's punch and apologizes for coming late. He throws the monster back and delivers a few punches to knock down the red ogre. With this, one monster is down, but there are 2 more red ogres aside from that. Once he has taken down the beast, he introduces Milo and Mello to the squad. They are earth magicians, and he assures the squad that the 2 are up to the task. It is now time for them to engage the other monsters that are already converging on them. Kasim and his boss are busy watching this fight, and the boss mentions the importance of having this battle. With this, they have been able to judge Taichi's magic capabilities. Meanwhile, Gerard receives the battle report in his tent, and Anna also hears this. She is worried about Taichi, but also rest assured that Taichi is going to come back safely to her. As she is about to step out of the tent, a guy wearing a hood walks past her and whispers something in her ear. It's as if she is under a spell, and she starts walking like a zombie. The battle between the adventurers and the monsters is growing fiercer as time goes on. Lamia tells the others to conserve their strength because their main aim is to cover Taichi's back. Taichi is putting his all into the fight, and he takes down another red ogre. He is about to prepare for another attack when the ground starts to shake. Apparently, Lamia knows what is about to happen because the fear is written all over her face. From under the ground emerges a 2 golden-headed dragon that looks absolutely menacing. The bad man knows that this is going to happen, and in fact, he was banking on it. He wants to see what Taichi truly has in him, and to use this as the ultimate test to see what he is capable of. Lamia tells Taichi that dragons are known not to concern themselves with whatever humans or monsters have going. This basically means it is weird for the dragon to have emerged from the ground. The others don't want Taichi to fight the dragon because they believe that it is reckless, but Taichi reminds them that there is no choice but to battle it out with the terrifying dragon. Rin tells the others to leave because she will be staying back with Taichi. Once the others have retreated to safety, Taichi tells Rin not to interfere because he cannot fight the dragon while also thinking of protecting her. Rin reluctantly agrees to this, and Taichi walks toward the dragon. The dragon welcomes him to the great fight that is about to go down. Taichi calls on Ariel, but she is nowhere to be found. Taichi decides to go after the dragon like that, but his first punch only tickles the dragon, and the dragon sends him flying with a counterattack. Taichi realizes that dragons are not a joke, and just while he is thinking of what to do, Anna shows up. He is surprised to see Anna on the battlefield because he literally told her to stay back. Anna comes to her senses and starts to question herself on how she got to the battlefield. Taichi is still trying to tell her to get away because it is dangerous when the dragon releases a burst of flame from its mouth, and unfortunately, the fire hits Anna and she falls to the ground. Taichi holds her in his hand, trying to prevent her from dying, but Anna thanks Taichi for being the only one who has treated her like a woman and not a tool. She manages to ask Taichi to be her friend before finally giving out. Taichi is shocked to see this, and he realizes that he failed his promise to protect her. He figures out that he has been naive all these while because he assumed that his powers made him invincible, which he is not. Yet, he angrily enters into the spirit realm to challenge Ariel and ask her why she chose not to help. Ariel explains to him that she needs to receive instructions from him before she can do anything. She reminds him that helping him that last time was an exception, and this is because his life was in danger. Taichi realizes that no one is to blame but himself. He then comes to the conclusion that he needs Ariel's power. He demands that he gives him her power, and the spirit lady accepts this out of the goodness of her heart. He returns to the human realm and hands Anna over to Rin. He asks her to take care of the girl, and he stands stands up to engage the dragon. He tells Rin that he is now officially a summoner, and he plans to end the fight with one blow. Taichi stands in front of the dragon and asks him why he is intervening in the war. The dragon makes Taichi a deal that if he is able to withstand his blow, he is going to answer his question. Taichi accepts the challenge, and the dragon lifts into the air to release a powerful fiery blast onto Taichi. Taichi blocks the attack and also throws the dragon back. The dragon and everyone watching are impressed by this. The dragon has no choice but to tell Taichi that he is interfering because someone asked him to. The dragon then leaves him with a warning about this certain individual and lets him know that he needs to become stronger if he wants to protect those in his circle. Weeks after the war, everything is now returning to normal, and the town is undergoing reconstruction. Those who died, including Anna, have been laid to rest. Taichi is now able to summon Ariel very easily, and he can manifest her physically for others to see. He is demonstrating this to Lamia and the others when a bunch of carriages arrive, and it seems these carriages are from a royal person. A lady steps out and introduces herself as Alcina Norman, who is the daughter of Marquis Norman, and she has come on behalf of the king, Gilmar. Taichi and his squad have been officially summoned to the capital, Wenifix, to help out the nation. On their way to the capital, Alcina tells the party that the king's brother has started a revolt. The king's brother is conservative while the king wants internalization. This has forced the king's brother to start a rebellion. It dawns on Rin that the royal family basically wants them involved in the war. Upon getting to the capital, Taichi and his people are not impressed with what they see, because the entire city looks like a ghost town. Everyone is locked up inside their houses. Alcina just needs to get them to the king, and just as they are about to start going, an arrow comes flying toward them, but Taichi catches the arrow. The assassin returns to Duke Dordesheim to let him know that he failed his mission. Taichi and the squad soon show up at the throne room. Everyone is practically glaring at them, and Alcina introduces them to Princess Charlotte Elistan. Just then, the king steps out to join them in the throne room. Everyone bows to greet the king as required. After this, Lamia talks to the king directly and casually, leaving everyone shocked. The king then tells the others to excuse them and leave him to talk with Taichi and his people. It seems the two are on casual terms with each other because they seem to be friends. Lamia knows that the king is having issues right now, and she is ready to help, but lets him know that there are a few conditions he needs to fulfill before then. Failing to abide by these conditions will simply make them reject his proposition. The king wastes no time in accepting her deal, and this makes things easier. Before leaving the room, Lamia asks the king if he was the one who ordered the summoning of Rin and Taichi, because he needed powerful people to help him in his fight against the rebels, and he says yes without argument. Taichi is angry to hear this, talking about how he and his friend had their lives taken away from them because the king wanted someone who would do his dirty job for him. The king apologizes and accepts full responsibility. Later on, Rin and Taichi are in their room when Charlotte comes to see them. Charlotte then informs the two that she was the one who summoned them, but she was following the king's orders. She apologizes for messing up the summoning ritual and almost getting them killed. After explaining to them how everything went by, Taichi asks the lady if they can be sent back to their world, but she says no. She tells them that the summoning ritual can only be performed once in a lifetime, and she apologizes for how she has wronged them, even though it doesn't change what has happened. With tears dropping from her eyes, she tells the two that once the battle is over, she will find a way to send them back to their homeland even if it is going to cost her her soul. The two accept her apology because they know how hard it is for her to come clean. Taichi lets her know that coming to that world is also a blessing because he has been able to meet irreplaceable friends. Taichi is interested in helping them win the war, and then find a way to return home afterward. Just then, Taichi is asked to come outside. He finds himself in the training grounds facing the Supreme General of the army, Sumela. She is there to test out his strength per the king's order and command. She comes after Taichi with incredible force and the intent to kill. She tells Taichi to fight hard if he wants to live. Lamia explains to the rest of the gang that this is a way for them to earn the trust of the royal army. The fight gets so intense that even after losing their swords, they continue with their fists. Taichi is able to comfortably fare against Sumela, who is considered the best fighter. In fact, he is able to take her down after battling for some minutes. After the battle, Sumela asks him something outrageous, and this is her asking them to become a couple. In fact, she is ready to become a concubine if Taichi already has a wife. Everyone is just left in total shock with everything that they are hearing from the lady. Later that night, Taichi tells Ariel how scared he is to fight normal people because he might actually hurt them. He wants to return to his world without having blood on his hands. He decides to go check on Rin but ends up walking into the room when she is dressing up. He runs out, apologizing and assuring Rin that he did not see anything. That night, Charlotte is seen offering up a prayer when Kasim's boss, who happens to be a cardinal, enters the room. His name is Cardinal Lodra, but Charlotte doesn't know he is a bad egg. Up next, Taichi finds Rin, who is attending to the garden, and lets her know that they have a meeting with the royal army. Meanwhile, the rebel faction is having a meeting on how best to handle the situation at hand. Marquis Nilgen wants to storm the capital, but Marquis Marchese is against this. Nilgen wants to enter the capital by force, but his comrade wants them to be conservative about this. In the end, the king's brother gives Nilgen to storm the capital just like he planned. Shortly afterwards, Sumela gets the sniff that Nilgen is already heading to the capital, and she starts making plans for this. She informs the king about this, and she gets into a room with Lamia and Bella to make plans for battle. Rin, Miura, and Taichi are also present in the room, but they look absolutely confused because they have never been in war before. Sumela wants Taichi to fight with everything he has in him so that they can get married afterward. Later that night, Taichi visits Rin in her room, and Rin suggests that he stay the night with her. Rin is going to sleep on the bed while Taichi plans to sleep on the couch. This brings back old memories of when they were on Earth. Taichi sits down with Rin apologizing that she had to be in this world, but Rin lets her know he is not to blame because she entered the magic circle by herself. Rin now appreciates the life that they have here, and she wants her and Taichi to protect the people. It is time for bed, and Taichi stands up to close the windows. On the other hand, Lamia and Miura are seen discussing about Rin and Taichi's mental state. Lamia feels something is wrong, and she stands up to check, but there is nothing to note. Meanwhile, there is a guy outside the castle, watching everything happen. It turns out that the guy in the cape is sent by Nilgen's associate because he wants the glory instead of Nilgen. The assassin makes his way into Rin's room and heads straight to the bed. He pushes his dagger into the bed but finds out that he has been deceived because what is under the bed is nothing but pillows. Just then, the door opens, and the guy realizes that he is busted when Taichi and the others enter. They tell him to come along quietly, but he goes after Rin instead. Taichi is able to stop him from terminating the lady, and he goes after him. He beats him to the ground until Lamia tells him to stop. He is about to lose control, but he holds back, and they decide to question the guy. However, things don't go just well with this, because the assassin jumps right in front of them and leaps off the castle balcony to terminate himself. The next morning, the enemy is already preparing to get to the city, but the soldiers are also prepared. Taichi has a plan, and he jumps on the walls to do his thing. He summons Ariel, and with Ariel's power, he creates a deep hole right in front of the enemy soldiers to prevent their advance. This will effectively prevent the rebel army from pushing, and possibly make a temporary retreat. Unknown to them, this is not enough to get Nilgen to give up. He and his men raise their hands in the air, and with a ring worn on their fingers, they unleash a blitz of long-range attacks on the soldiers. Sumela and the others are surprised to see this because it would normally take 1,000 royal magicians to do what they just did. Taichi uses his power to check out the rebel army, and he realizes that they are wearing rings that contain magic stones. Lamia realizes that the rebel army practically has a magic item in their grasp, which gives even an amateur the power to use magic. However, this sort of item drains the life force and eventually ends the user's life. Sumela considers this a win for them because without doing anything, they get to erase the entire rebel army at once. However, Bella doesn't want this, and she reminds Sumela that the rebel armies are practically the nation's citizens who don't know that the magic item is dangerous. Lamia then tells the gang that she has a plan to solve the issue. Before Lamia and Rin get their thing done, Ariel puts up a barrier. Rin and her counterparts use a spell to bring down rain on the enemy soldiers, and once this is done, they release a burst of lightning to electrocute them and make them pass out. Nilgen falls to the ground, and just then, another of his comrades, Inimicus, shows up to terminate him as this is his best opportunity to do so. Nilgen falls to his death with the last memory being Inimicus betraying him. After the battle, Taichi and the others attend a party to enjoy themselves. The following morning, Rin wakes Taichi up from sleep because Bro is suffering from a hangover. After he has settled down, Lamia shows up to tell Rin and Taichi that the king wants to see them. The two head to the throne room, and this is where the king lets them know that he wants to reward them for their bravery in the just concluded battle. A messenger pushes in a collection of rare items that belong to the royal family. Each one of them looks at the items to pick the ones that they want, and Taichi picks a katana that he sees on the tray. After this, Taichi finds himself at the training grounds, and this is because Sumela wants them to try out the new weapons that they just got. Lamia is impressed with the magic ring that she picked, and she shows everyone present there how it works. Sumela wants her and Taichi to do battle, but the guy is not just interested in doing this. After this, Taichi heads into town, and before he knows it, he finds the people staring at him. They recognize him as the powerful guy who saved the city. After having fun with the people for some time, he leaves. He walks past an area and gets the feeling that someone is watching him. He tells the person to come outside because they are busted already. The person reveals himself, and it turns out to be Kasim. He is surprised to see that Kasim has only one hand now. He doesn't know how this happened, and Kasim reminds him that his turning into a one-handed person is his doing. Taichi doesn't remember that this happened when he angrily let Ariel lose on the guy during their last encounter. Kasim then tells Taichi that he is challenging him to a duel, and he has already poisoned the wells in the city in case he is thinking of not honoring the challenge. Meanwhile, Rin and Miura are having a mock battle in the training ground. Sumela tells Lamia that the king's brother is already preparing his army, and there is no way they are preventing the war. On the other hand, Kasim takes Taichi to the place where he wants the fight to happen. He tells Taichi that he needs to limit his powers before they can fight. It is common knowledge that Taichi is far more powerful than Kasim, and this is the reason he needs to get rid of his powers. Kasim has a magic item with him that will help him do this. Kasim wants to level the playing field and see if Taichi is really a match for him when it comes to hard work. Ariel doesn't want him to do this because his powers might not actually return, but Taichi insists. Once they are in agreement, Kasim uses the item to take Taichi's power down to his own level. With this, the battle begins, and Taichi is the first to attack with a push of wind. Kasim blocks this, and the two charge toward each other. After a few exchanges of blows, they are already looking exhausted, but none of them is ready to give up. As the fight continues, Taichi realizes that he is losing already, and Kasim has an ace up his sleeve. Just as Kasim continues cooking up his magic, Taichi remembers what he was told in training about putting his power into imagination. The attack spell comes at Taichi, but he is able to cut it off and hit Kasim with a counterattack. Kasim is knocked to the wall, and he accepts defeat, even if it is hard for him to say. Ariel immediately tells the guy to return Taichi's power to him. Kasim lets Taichi know that all he has to do is destroy the magic item and his power will be restored. Taichi is surprised with the fact that Kasim is cooperative, and Kasim lets him know that he has accepted defeat already. However, things start to go south when the magic item gains consciousness of its own and comes after Taichi. Kasim tells them to destroy the magic item and they will end the dark spirit. The spirit is about to hit Taichi, but Grammy, who has been hiding, comes out of hiding and hits back the spirit. She throws her sword, destroying the magic item, but this appears to not be enough to take out the rogue spirit. Taichi already has his powers again, and with this, he is able to fully blast away the dark spirit. The spirit is destroyed, and Taichi thanks Grammy for saving his life. Kasim sits down there thinking about how badly he just lost. However, he has accepted his defeat and no longer has anything hate toward Taichi. After the fight with Kasim, Taichi is surprised to hear that the war has already begun. That night, Lodra is seen talking to a woman, who happens to be his boss. They already have several preparations on the ground, and Lodra is free to carry them out. Later on, Taichi promises Rin that he is going to protect her, but Rin doesn't want that. She wants them to stay together and fight, to which Taichi agrees. Meanwhile, Marquis Marchese is seen assuring the king's brother that everything is going according to plan, and victory is sure for them. With the battle stage set, Inimicus tells the king's brother that he already has everything planned out. The king's brother knows he is going to be remembered as a villain, but he is doing this for the sake of the country, he believes. On the other hand, the king has also mobilized his army to go against his brother, Dortisheim. Since he has refused to surrender or back down, they have no choice but to do battle. Not long after this, the battle begins, and this is the scenery from the first episode. While Rin and the others are fighting, Taichi and Ariel have another plan. With one leap, Taichi jumps to the enemy's camp. Meanwhile, Lodra and his boss are monitoring the battle situation and everything that concerns Taichi. On the battlefield, Rin has come across a strong opponent who goes by the name Susora. Rin can see that Susora is one of those people who enjoys battle just like Grammy. At the same time, Miura is facing off with Marchese. He plans to beat Miura up and send her back to the kitchen where she originally belonged, he says. Lamia takes down a bunch of soldiers but has no plans to terminate them because they are also citizens of the nation. She just wants to make sure that they cannot move, but as she raises her staff to activate a spell, a jamming spell hits her, freezing up her staff. She is surprised by this, and when she looks up, it turns out to be a mage that she is acquainted with, Mistfolos. Mistfolos has been waiting to go after Lamia, and Lamia assures him that she is not going to hold back like she did for the soldiers. Dortisheim and Inimicus are talking in their tent when Taichi enters, leaving them in shock as to how he was able to get to them very easily. Taichi tells the king's brother that he is there to talk to him, and the man accepts, telling his guards to leave the tent. When asked what his business at the tent is, Taichi tells the man that he has come to him with the option of peace. He has been able to talk to the king, and if his brother is willing to stand down as of the moment, he and his entire army will be pardoned. Taichi tells the king's brother that he has the power to destroy nations, but he doesn't want to use it for that. While they are talking, a dark aura leaves Inimicus's body and heads outside the tent to enter into the soldiers' bodies, both dead and alive. On the battlefield, Mistfolos gets hit by Lamia because he literally poses no threat to the powerful mage. He falls to the ground, and Lamia asks him for his last words because she sure as hell doesn't have any intention to spare him. The guy tells Lamia that he has no last words, and once she hears this, she terminates the man. On the other hand, Marchese is still facing off with Mayura. He says something that triggers Mayura, and Mayura promises to end the fight quickly and with her sword. Marchese tries blocking her attack, but before he knows it, Mayura is behind him, and with the sword, falling from the sky, she cuts the guy's neck cleanly. Now in the enemy's tent, the king's brother tells Taichi that he refuses the offer of peace, and this leaves Ariel wondering why he would do such. The king's brother then asks Taichi why he is not making the move to become king, since he has the power to actually destroy nations. Taichi replies that he doesn't have the strength for politics. The king's brother suggests that he could become a dictator, but even this option doesn't excite him because he is not ready to become a leader whose citizens don't love. After all the failed persuasion, the king's brother lets Taichi know that he is not interested in peace and would rather be remembered as a villain if it means making the nation great. Ariel notices something weird and points it out to Taichi. Inimicus realizes that he has been found out, but the deed has been done already. Meanwhile, Rin is having a tough battle with Susora, and things are not looking good for the lady. Rin realizes that she has no choice but to win, and with this, she is able to put everything in her attack to hit Susora so badly that she feels it. The two want to continue the battle but realize that they are surrounded by soldiers who are practically zombies. The spell has affected the soldiers from both sides, and there is no differentiation between enemy or friendly again. The king's brother is shocked to see that his right-hand man is basically his enemy. Inimicus makes fun of the man, telling him that all it took was a push to get him to go against his brother. Inimicus talks about the great woman that he is serving but doesn't mention her name. This reminds Taichi of what the dragon said. Inimicus continues controlling the zombie soldiers with his mind-eating spell, and as he does this, he laughs like a maniac. Lamia narrates how there was once a deadly battle called the Rhapsody, which happened between the Gargan Empire and the Holy Scatolith Empire. This was a battle that raged for days, and the soldiers eventually lost their minds because of a spell. They turned on their own citizens and started terminating everyone in their path, leading to thousands of deaths. This all happened because of a mind control spell, and this is exactly what is happening again, Lamia explains to Mura. Lamia says the spell is caused by the use of dark magic through a dark being, and the only way to get rid of this is to destroy the spell causing this issue. They need to stop the zombie soldiers right on the battlefield to prevent them from making their way to Wenifix. Meanwhile, Laudra and his boss are waiting to see what will be the aftermath of the battle. Taichi's is trying to take down the zombies, and apparently the king's brother is now in his right senses and is ready to help out. Taichi comes to the conclusion that he wants to use the great power that he has been given to protect. He starts activating a bright spell from his body, and just as he is about to use it, Ariel stops him. She apologizes for lying to Taichi all this while. It turns out that she has not been totally plain with Taichi. She tells Taichi that she has not been giving him access to her full power, and this is because she is scared of how he is going to use it. But now, she is fully aware that Taichi cares about others and not just himself. With this, Ariel tells Taichi to say goodbye to her because she is getting rid of Ariel and lets Taichi know what he should call her by. Ariel disappears and Rin shows up on the scene. Rin and Taichi hug each other, and Taichi tells Rin that he is finally giving up on being human. He raises his hand in the sky and calls out Ariel's real name, which is Sylphid. With this, Sylphid appears in the sky and destroys the spell that is controlling the soldiers, returning them to their normal mental state. Sylphid descends from the sky in her true form, and she looks much bigger than before. She tells Taichi that she is the same being as Ariel, but this is her true form. Taichi is happy that they are able to break the mind control spell, but says it is not over until they take Inimicus down. He is practically reeking in his dark spell, finally turning into a monster. Taichi and Rin share a passionate moment before Inimicus tears open the tent. Inimicus flies into the sky and Taichi follows him. Taichi realizes that Inimicus has also given up his will to live as a human. Inimicus explains to Taichi that he has had the spirit since he was a boy, and this is the reason he was chosen by the Great Woman to be summoned into this world. He lets him know that everything that has happened to this point has been the woman's plan. The said woman wants to bring chaos to the world and emerge as the savior later on, Inimicus explains. To make this work, Taichi was chosen to become the woman's sword. Taichi soon gets angry and tired of hearing this. He goes after Inimicus and starts punching him around, letting him know that he is only doing all this to save those he cares about, and not just to be a pawn to someone. Taichi angrily knocks the guy to the ground, but he starts teasing him. Inimicus laughs at Taichi, saying he doesn't have the resolve to terminate him. He calls this Taichi's weakness, and would probably be his downfall. Taichi is surprised to hear this, and he is surprised that Inimicus can come to such a delusional conclusion. The dragon has already told him that he needs to get stronger if he is to protect those that he loves. With this, he has come to the conclusion that he needs to get stronger. Therefore, he has given up his role as a human. It dawns on Inimicus that he is done for, and Taichi is pretty serious when it comes to protecting those he loves. Taichi activates a wind spell that he unleashes on the guy to terminate him. With this, the battle comes to an end, and the surviving soldiers return to their families. Later on, Taichi wakes up with Lemia and Rin beside him. Apparently, he passed out again because of using too much magic power. The war has finally ended with the king being victorious and life coming back to the city. As a reward, Taichi and his squad are appointed as special forces, which automatically places them above the royal army. They are going to be summoned only when the kingdom is in peril. Later on, the king's brother is also executed, but he dies with no regrets of what he has done. Lamia finds Taichi and talks to him about what makes him human, no matter the amount of power he holds in him. After getting their business in order, Taichi and his people prepare to leave the capital, and the princess thanks them for their help. As they ride back to Aspire, Taichi wonders who the mystery woman might be, but he comes to the conclusion that the power that has been given to him will only be used to protect those close to him.